Hello, everyone. This is Marion Swingler. Welcome to Confident You podcast. I am excited to be here today. This is 2023 Memorial Day weekend. I want to thank all the soldiers for their service. Those that have served, those that are still serving. Thank you so much for all that you do. This is very special because who we have joining us today, she is a best-selling author. She is a devoted mom. She is all around amazing. Listen, I will call her superwoman, but you will find out why that's not appropriate for her. Listen, we have in our midst this evening a veteran for this Veterans Day weekend. So without further delay, I introduce to you Maureen Mays. Yeah!
What an introduction.
I want to start by thanking you for your
Thank you.
service. I appreciate you being here, but I appreciate what you've done for our country. I want to start there. How did that come about?
Oh my goodness, you caught me off guard. Well, that came about, I was 18 and I was attending Howard at the time. And the college experience wasn't quite what I thought it would be.
Okay.
And I had followed my boyfriend at the time to the recruitment station, and he was enlisting. And so one of the recruiters sat right next to me and asked me, well, what's your name and what are you reading? And at the time, I had one of my books from college. And I said, well, I'm a Howard student. And she said, how are you paying for that? And I said, the best way I know how. Loans. And the rest was history. She talked me into getting to the service, and I got into the service as a military police officer. They gave me a little $5,000 bonus, and at 18 years old, I said yes. Sign on the dotted line. So that's how I entered the service.
So where did that take you? Where did your service take you?
Ooh, it took me a lot of places. It provided a lot of discipline. And I'm going to say discipline and exposure because my parents were a little overprotective. So being at Howard University, that was my first time somewhat being out on my own, but still living at home, reading between the lines. So joining the military definitely gave me a lot of discipline and a lot of exposure to real life, real people, different people. So yes, all of that good stuff.
All of that good stuff. Again, I thank you for your service. I, again, am very thankful for our military and for all that they do for us, to protect us, to keep us, just freely giving of themselves. That is amazing. I honor you for that. Now, to get to what you said you're on guard for, because to say I caught you off guard. You are a best-selling author. You have published 6 bodies of work. You have published poetry, novels, and self-help materials. What brought that about? Did you always love writing?
I've been writing since I can remember. I think the very first time that I noticed just the love of words, the love of writing was in 6th grade when we had to do a paper about a country. And my country was Botswana. And back then, dating myself a little bit, you had to go to the library and research, go get the encyclopedia and read up on your material to create. And I just fell in love with the research part, putting the words together to explain the country, the aspects that I found interesting in their overall history. And from there, I just fell in love with words. I began to do poetry and journal and definitely read a lot. I remember being about 14 or 15, being caught by my Aunt Pam reading Terry McMillan, Waiting to Exhale. She said, do your mama know what you're reading? So I've always been a lover of words and reading.
A lover of words and reading. So, would you consider yourself a wordsmith?
Not so much a wordsmith,
Okay.
no, but I would say that I am a lover of words. Not only am I a poet or a writer, I'm also a fan. So, I love to see uh, poets and spoken word artists and how they string words along. I came up in the era of hip hop. And oh my goodness, when I was walking down Georgia Avenue to Howard going to class, I always had my Sony Walkman and my headphones in my ear, grooving a Tribe Called Quest, or what other rapper or musician that I wanted to listen to.
Okay. How did you start writing in present day? Was there something that compelled you, to publish your works? How did you start to publish?
Well, I have been a closet writer for years, not really sharing my work. It wasn't until I got divorced where I decided that I actually wanted to put together and the pieces of poetry that I had been performing. And I met Kaniki Jakarta. She's the first Black female poet laureate of Alexandria. Um, she's not in residency no more, but I met her about 10, 15 years ago, before she was the poet laureate. And her husband had a publishing company.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes.
What is a poetry laureate?
A poet laureate. It's think about a mayor, how we have mayors of cities. Well, we have poet laureates of different cities where, think about Amanda Gorman. She's the poet laureate of the U.S. at the time when she, read her poem. So, yes. So think about a mayor of a city.
So where would Maya Angelou fall in that? So for me, that's who I would equate to that position.
Well, yeah, Maya Angelou was a beautiful poet. Oh, I love her work. I it's escaping me. I don't know if she was actually the poet laureate of U.S. or not. Yeah, that's escaping me.
That's a position that you have to be given?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt your story. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on track.
It's an honor. So no, absolutely not.
All right. So you enjoyed her work.
Yeah.
And so how did that evolve into you being published?
Well, her and her husband had a self-publishing company called greatpublishing.com, and it's actually, still exists. And, just seeing her on the stage and hearing her husband on the stage, those were the two first poets that I fell in love with from a physical sense, meeting them, talking to them, being in the same space. And so meeting them and, realizing I could publish my work, it was something that I wanted to do. It was something that I wanted to do when I was married that I wasn't able to do. So when I got the opportunity to do so upon me divorcing, I took advantage of the opportunity. And I think it's really important for us to just be able to write our stories and share our stories. our stories aren't necessarily for everyone, but it's so important to make sure that whoever it is for, that it gets to them. When I think about that, I think about Black Wall Street. I even think about the Tina Turner story. With her passing, I just think about her resilience and how so many women looked up to her. And it wasn't always about her music, but it was about her story.
It was about her story. Whose story would you like to tell?
Whose story would I like to tell? That's a good one. I don't know. Whose story would I like to tell, or whose story would I like to read? I don't know, because I've read some stories. Another story that comes to mind that I read a couple of years ago was Maite, Prince's ex-wife.
Yes.
He has an interesting story. And the thing about stories, you can always take something from someone's story and put it in your back pocket and pull it out when you need it. That's the one thing I love about reading people's stories, because they're not made up. They're real.
They're real. You are very, very accurate. I find that in reading books, I'm able to pull wisdom and, like you said, put it in my back pocket. And when that situation arises, when that moment where you're like, wait, this is it. This is what they were talking about. I know the answer to this, and I haven't been through this. So as an author, why did you said that you weren't able to while you were married. Is that when you're considering yourself a closet writer?
I would say so. Being married, we definitely had some financial constraints. It's, when you're married, it's about being part of the team. And, you have to consult and make sure things are, in order. And that particular goal that I had at the time did not fit with the other marriage goals at the time.
With the team. All right. So, but you didn't give up on your goals.
I didn't. And I'm happy. I'm happy with myself today, And I say today because Tina's death has been on my mind, especially, you're hearing the music on the radio, you're hearing people talk about it on TV and in passing. And I'm happy that I made that decision to publish, because your podcast is about confidence.
Yes.
It gave me the confidence to own those words that I put together in poetry. And it became my platform for other works. I thought it was just one book. That's it. I would have never thought that from one book of poetry would have not only brought me healing, but would have brought others healing, would have brought others a perspective about things that they were going through, about things that were challenging or difficult to discuss, as well as becoming a self-care advocate and writing about self-care and healing, as well as writing about a novel. So I am constantly working on being obedient and being open to what God would have me to write. And that's why I like to just say I'm a writer. I don't necessarily want to be put in a box and say I'm a poet or I'm a novelist, I'm a self-help. I want to be obedient to whatever God is putting on my heart to do so that I can walk that out. And that's not always the easiest thing.
You are correct. That is not always the easiest thing. You have just mentioned your other two avenues of using the words that you have within you. You mentioned self-help, your self-help advocacy, and you also mentioned your novel. Let's unpack those. Your novel. How did your novel become ink on the page?
Ooh. And I'm sorry, I'm still a little nasally. Excuse me. I'm laughing because that was the book that I couldn't release it. Jay-Z once said, I'm paraphrasing because I'm trying to remember. Sometimes you just gotta let the song go. You just have to release it. He had a song like that where he kept tweaking it and tweaking it to the point he just had to release it.
Mm-hmm.
So my novel was a book that I wrote during my divorce. It's not about me, despite what people may believe. It's actually, I would say, a mix, a gumbo of different personalities that I was exposed to, different people, situations that I was exposed to, where I created this novel of very colorful characters and created a story that many people can relate to. And that's why it's called Married Status is Complicated, because that marital status can be challenging, it can be difficult, it can be complicated. And it can be complicated, especially when you are taking two people from two different backgrounds, two different parents, two different upbringings, different experiences, different exposures, and they are becoming one. So that's how that novel became ink. I was looking at it, I was tweaking it, and one day I said, I have to release it. I have to release this out into the world. And to this day, it is my bestseller. I don't even have a copy here to show you because I can't keep copies. I always sell out of the novel.
Yes. Amazon best-selling author. My goodness. How do you said the characters. How did the characters form and come about?
The characters formed and came about literally in my head. There are times, and let me say, novel writing for me is very different. And I don't know if there are other writers that can relate. They talk to me. I literally have to stop and write down the things that they say. Sometimes they're dormant, sometimes they are very active in regards to the things that they say and do in my head. And I have to write those things out.
You're talking about the characters in the novel.
Yes.
So you actually can see what they look like. You actually know their demeanor and characteristics of each of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe it would be no different than sitting in Tyler Perry's boardroom of writers, if he has one, or, behind the scenes of, Young and the Restless, being in those rooms where they are creating storylines and the characters are coming about. But the only difference is they're real characters, they're real actors and actresses. But as it relates to my novel writing, they live in my head.
They live in your head. All right. My goodness. And then you just put that information into a novel and then cause others to see what you said on the paper.
Absolutely.
My
That's
goodness.
where they come alive.
So the other thing you talked about was your advocate for self-care.
Mm-hmm.
If you could expound on that.
Oh, self-care. Self-care advocate. Mm, where
You
do I
said,
start?
this is where, hold on, this is where you were going to say, where do I start? This is where I would like for you to start. When I introduced you, I was going to say you were a superwoman, but that is not a statement that you ascribe to. That's where you can start for me if you
Okay.
can.
Okay. I would love to start there. So I have a poem called Wonder Woman. And in the poem, I say, throw down your lasso. You're no God. And what I mean by that is, I don't believe in the superwoman mentality. They say, "Oh, you're strong. You're a superwoman. You're a Wonder Woman. You're wearing all these hats and so on and so forth." What is not taught is caught, and we have been taught by watching from history, our mothers, our grandmothers, and how they are the glue, and how they make the Thanksgiving dinner, and they have the perfect gifts, and they know exactly what they say, and they work, and they take care of the family. That's exhausting. That's exhausting. It is no longer realistic in the society that we live in. And I don't believe the God that we serve wants us to run rampant and be exhausted. He wants us to take care of us. He wants us to love us the way that He loves us. He wants us to take care of ourselves. And He wants us to do it in the capacity in which He's provided for us. So that means when we're on the airplane and they say, put your mask on first before you help someone else, we need to have that same mentality in our day-to-day lives. So that means if we are cooking Thanksgiving dinner, then somebody bringing sides, somebody bringing desserts. I'm not going to be fully responsible. It's a lot for one person. So no, I do not give into the superwoman mentality. I don't even want that label. I don't want to be looked at as a shero. You know, I'm thinking about Tina Turner again. We don't need another hero. We do not need another hero.
Yeah.
Or a shero for that.
My goodness, we don't need another hero. I hear everything that you're saying, and all that I'm feeling in my spirit is that it's amazing. You're right. When we look back through history, there was never celebrated when someone asked for help.
No.
That's never something that's celebrated. When someone accepted help, is really never celebrated unless you achieve something great. Then you go, oh, and so helped me. But just the day-to-day things, I hear you. The day-to-day things.
Yes.
You can divvy those things out. You can ask for help, and you don't have to do them all right then and there.
Yes, because it's not healthy. We hear people talk about mental health, especially in our community. It's coming up more and more. I believe it's always been an issue, but we haven't been talking about it. It hasn't had a label, or it hasn't had definition, and it's not healthy. Um, you know, yeah, it's just not healthy. We have to get out of that mindset, and out of that vicious cycle of not taking care of ourselves. It's not healthy.
So, what do you suggest besides divvying up um, the day-to-day things and those special occasions, including other people in the process, what else do you suggest for women to do to care for themselves? How else are you advocating?
Well, I definitely advocate a self-care plan. Just like we have a plan for our budget, our finances, the same way as we do for our health. We have, your physical, your dentist appointments. You have to have a self-care plan. What some of us don't realize is that self-care is just not necessarily what's done on the outside, like our hair or our nails or makeup, but it's also the internal things. Self-care are several buckets. It's finances, it's having the difficult conversations, it's spiritual, it's mental, it's physical. There are a lot of buckets, and it's important to have a self-care plan to ensure that you are taking care of yourself.
Can you give an example of a self-care plan? Like, what is the difference? What did you do before you made the plan, and what do you do now that you have your plan?
I did very little before I had my plan. And the pandemic, I would say, impacted that a lot. Before the pandemic, I was a little bit more, I would say, active, going to the gym, going to the winery, going on trips, vacation, doing things with friends, just more active. When the pandemic hit, it actually impacted a lot of those active things that I used to do. It made me more paranoid. I developed a lot of anxiety, and I began to start going to therapy. A lot of things that I did externally was shut down. I had to recreate things within my self-care plan. Um, those things were writing, painting, cooking, gardening. I even created a whole greenhouse. Had someone come build a greenhouse. Getting back to music, dancing in my living room, just different things. And that was very critical because I didn't realize how much the pandemic had me paranoid and create anxiety about the things that I used to enjoy doing. So my self-care plan is very diverse now.
It is that's you what I noticed with your self-care plan is, okay, so you said that it was more than doing your hair, doing your nails, things like that cost money. It's amazing to me that the things that you mentioned on your self-care plan really don't seem to be expensive at all. You mentioned writing. Everybody normally has some paper around. You mentioned painting. That's something you can go to the dollar store and get a set. You just mentioned turning on music and dancing around in your living room, just enjoying yourself and enjoying the moment. I really do believe that those things are valuable for someone to know the things that they enjoy, those simple things that you can do at any time, anywhere, nice and easy. You don't even really have to budget. The things that you're mentioning, you don't need a big budget to do. So I think there are people that are a bit extravagant, or dare I say bougie, that love to spend money. But I also know someone who she accepts who she is. She loves the color.
Yes.
For her birthday, I just put crayons and 2 coloring books in a bag and handed it, and she was elated.
Yes.
Elated. So I have definitely seen for others how those simple things are self-care for you.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Yes.
So what
And
does I'm listening.
Oh, and the other thing that I'm looking into adding to my self-care plan is double dutch. I've never learned how to double dutch. And they have a double dutch um organization around the world that you can join. They have chapters. So I'm gonna get out here and learn how to double dutch. And you know how that impacts self-care? That's health. That's meeting new people, that's socializing, those experiences. So we have to really expand how we think about this self-care.
Hmm.
Yes.
That sounds like so much fun. That sounds so youthful. It's
Yeah.
exciting. I have to admit, yes, no. I didn't learn to double dutch. That rope hit me one good time. So I will show up and be your biggest cheerleader. You just let me know when and where.
Okay.
And I will
Well,
grab one of those ropes and single rope it like nobody's
Marion,
business.
you are getting the invite. You are getting the invite, Marion.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. My
Yes.
goodness, you better get your cardio up. You got to be ready for them. You got to be ready because the
Yes.
ropes are coming. They don't.
Yes. Look,
They have.
I'm already stretching. I have a stretching campaign with some of my girlfriends where we put our legs up on the wall and we leave them there for like 5 to 10 minutes at a time. So we get that blood flowing. Because
Come on here.
that is self-care too.
Come
Those
on
deep
here.
breaths, those stretches. Oh, yes.
You better get ready for it. You don't want it to get ready for you. So you definitely have to get ready for it. So where do you see yourself in the future? You have 6 published books. You have you're a best-selling author. What else do we see in the future coming from you?
Oh, that's such a hard question, Marion.
No, it's not. I know you have dreams and aspirations. I want
Yes,
you to shoot for the stars. I don't.
yes.
It's not today, but I want that bucket list.
Though the bucket list. Okay,
Yes.
because I was thinking a little different. Because I was like, well, I'm waiting on God to tell me. But you want the bucket list? Okay, I can give you the bucket list.
Yes.
So I'm gonna tell you a little secret.
Mm-hmm.
So I have about 5 acres of land, and I would like to put together some form of retreat, glamping. Um, yeah, so that's where I see myself 5 years, really cultivating that land and creating something very, very special. So yeah.
So that's where you see yourself. So where do you see yourself in your writing?
In my writing, well, I would like to really get into songwriting.
Hmm.
I really want to write some music.
What type of music?
All kinds. Can I write a country song? Oh, I would love to write a country song. Oh, girl, because country songs tell a story.
Yes, they do.
So yes, I would like to write a country song. I would love to write a gospel song. I actually wrote a gospel song, but I'm still trying to understand the dynamics around writing music. From my research and just talking to people, is a little bit different than what it has been in the past, since we have different social media platforms. And a lot of people these days get discovered on YouTube, believe it or not, or TikTok. So yeah, I would love to write a song, Marion, because again, I said my writing, me being a writer, I don't want to be put in a box, And to piggyback a little bit, we talked about Maya Angelou, but Maya Angelou, not only was she a poet, she was a novelist. She was a dancer. She was behind the scenes of The Color Purple, if I'm not mistaken. She or she was an actress. She was in Roots, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't want to be placed in a box. I want to live out loud with my writing. I want to be influential. I want to be impactful. And yeah.
How did your writing help you heal?
You see how I just sighed and I just let it out?
Yes.
That's how the writing helped me heal, because it was no longer in here. Like right now, I'm real nasally, and how, everything is in here, right? I want to get it out. I want to get all that post nasal drip out so I can heal. The writing for me is healing because I can get it out. I don't have to hold it. It's not held hostage, having me in bondage. I just want to get it out. I want to release it so that it can breathe, so it can leave me, unbothered.
So you said you were a closet writer. How long have you held a body of work before you released it? And what changed?
Well, I journaled a lot. I have journals from when I'm back in middle school. I remember my first journal had Snoopy on it. So I wrote a lot, and I just, kept those things to myself, those thoughts, those feelings. And that's a form of healing, because you can release that on the paper. It's no longer on your heart so heavy.
So when do you become confident enough to have what was on your heart and heavy, and then on the paper for you privately, to go public with that?
I'm going to say confidence. Yeah, I'm gonna say confidence. When you become unleashed, I'm gonna use that word, and you decide that you're going to stand, as well as embrace your feelings, and it doesn't matter what anybody says about it. You're going to own them. You get that confidence to just be.
Confidence to just be. That's absolutely beautiful. Confidence to just be.
Mm-hmm.
So you had no concern or qualms of what anyone's response would be?
Absolutely not. And that's growth.
That's growth. So where were you to get through that growth to the confidence to be able to do that?
Experiences. By the time I published my first book, I was a mother of two. I was now a divorced wife. I was a college student about to come out of college. I was many things. I was a soldier. I had experienced a lot of things, exposed to a lot of people. And that type of exposure and experience, it begins to mature you.
It begins to mature you. So would you say maturity is a component of the confidence that you felt to release it?
I'm going to say yes. Yes, because when you know better, you do better. When immaturity versus maturity, it looks totally different. So the things that I used to think, the things that I used to believe, were no more. or even, you begin to ask yourself things like, am I good? Am I good enough? Does it matter?
Did you just ask yourself a question and answer it?
I did.
So you begin to ask yourself questions and then find your own answers.
Yes.
My Lord. All right.
Because because that confidence factor is, you have to be your own cheerleader.
Mm.
So asking yourself if you're good enough, if you're ready, if the time is now, you have to seize the moment.
Yes. If the time is now, you have to seize the moment. Well, we have come to the time when I would like for you to seize the moment. I'm going to yield the platform to you, and I want you just to share with the audience how they can view your ink.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
And everything else that they can be blessed by being in your presence.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can also go to my website, mmauthor.com. I have a whole store over there. Feel free to browse the merchandise. Feel free to go to Amazon, pick up my book, or you can email me, DM me directly, and purchase from me. And I'll love to autograph it for you.
Now, wait, you're also a speaker. You're available for speaking engagements.
I am.
Let's hear
I
more about
am.
that.
Yes, I am available for speaking engagements. I do workshops, especially on self-care. We can put together that self-care plan and talk more about the self-care that we talked about in this hour.
All right. Now, I do want to thank you for taking the time, but before you go, I would like for you to share with the audience your top confidence keys that cause you to that the therapy of ink gave you.
The therapy that ink gave me. You know what? I think I want to share a poem.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, M and M.
The poem that I'll share is adequate. Adequate, I am. Measured perfectly imperfect, sufficient to be just enough. I am without anything being added. I am ample from head to toe. I am enough. And that's that.
Oh no, wait, poetry. Awesome. I thank you for being here to tell people how you're serving today. I thank you for your service to our country. I thank you for being kind enough to come and share this Memorial Day weekend with us here at Confident You, and we are thankful for all that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marion. I appreciate your patience with my little post-nasal drip, so thank you.
No problem at all. All right, everyone. I want you to get out there and really celebrate. If you know someone who's been in the military, going to the military, in the military, just give them a call. Let them know that you appreciate them. Remind them that we are here. We think about them. We pray for them. We appreciate what they're doing on our behalf, on the behalf of this country. It is an honorable thing to give of yourself in that way, literally being selfless. For people, listen, they don't know everyone. They may know the people in their family, the people in their sphere of influence, but they may not know you. You see them walking around, just say thank you for your service. All right. Thank you very much for joining us here at Confident You. See you next time.